and I do so out of necessity. You think about the odds of me standing here today. They're very slim. I was not born into fame or fortune. I was born to a teenage mother. My father left when I was 2. I was raised by that single mom and by my grandparents. And so, they could give me a lot of money, a lot of status. They could give me love, they could give me an education, they could give me hope. So I talk about hope. I have hope on my signs, and I gave a speech in Boston about hope. And I wrote a book called The Audacity of Hope. I noticed that lately my opponent's been almost derisive about the concept of hope. She says, oh, he's always talking about hope. He's so naive, he's so idealistic. He's a hope monger.
Better than being a hate monger.
You know, the idea is that somehow, if you talk about hope, you must have your head in the clouds. You must be a talker and not a doer. You must be passive, just waiting for good things to happen to you, unwilling to struggle and to fight on behalf of what you believe in. Well, that's not what hope is. Hope is not blind optimism. Hope is not ignoring the challenges, the hurdles, the hazards that stand in your way. I know how hard change is going to be. I know it will be difficult to provide health care for every American. If it was easy, Ted Kennedy would have already done it. I know how hard it's going to be to have a sensible energy policy in this country. ExxonMobil doesn't want to give up those profits. I know how hard it will be to relieve poverty in cities like Newark, because that poverty has been long-lasting. It's going to be hard to lift up our schools, because all of us are going to have to change our ways. We're all going to have to take responsibility, not just teachers, but parents and our communities. We're all going to have to think about how we're raising our children. I know how hard it's going to be because I have fought on the streets as an organizer. I have fought in the courts as a civil rights attorney. I have fought in the legislature, and I've gotten some good legislation passed, but I've seen good legislation die because good intentions were not enough, because they weren't fortified by political will and political power. But I also know this, that nothing in this country worthwhile has ever happened except somebody somewhere was willing to hope. That's how a band of freedom fighters were willing to declare independence and take on the mighty British Empire. Nobody gave them a chance. That's how slaves and abolitionists resisted that wicked system, and how a new president chartered a course to ensure this nation would not remain half slave and half free. Defeated fascism and lifted itself up out of the Great Depression. That's how women won the right to vote. That's how workers won the right to organize. That's how young people traveled south to march and sit in. Some got beaten, some went to jail, some died for freedom's cause. That's what hope is. Struggling for what didn't seem possible. That's what hope is. You know, there's a moment in the life of every generation when that spirit has to come to us. This is our moment. This is our time.
Do it.
If you will stand with me during tomorrow, if you will vote for me, if you will cast off the fear and the doubt and the cynicism, if you believe that we owe the next generation the same chances somebody gave us, If you aren't willing to settle for what the cynics tell you have to accept, but instead are willing to reach for what you know is possible, if you want to keep the dream alive for those who still hunger for justice and still thirst for opportunity, then I promise you this, we will not just win here in New Jersey.